be our secretary. Thank you very much, team. Really appreciate it. So for today and moving into our agenda, we are going to really have a look at the advisory, We're going to start off by looking at year at a glance. So let's have a look at what this year is going to look like. I have that here in front of me. So I'm going to pull it up and share via the Zoom. And that will enable us all to actually go, why are we here? What are we doing? And what does it all look like? So we can make a bit of sense of this crazy school site council stuff. I will share screen. Andrea, just give me an approval on that share screen, please. I can do that too. Thank you. A little delay.
There you are.
Yeah. But look, everybody, here we are. All right, so we had our session on October 7th, and we voted our officers. We reviewed the bylaws and the parent-family compact. No changes for this year. And that is where we were for last meeting. This meeting, we are going to be looking a little bit at the proposal and looking at the evaluations for last year. I'm going to give us a grounding during this year on what we did last year. As we move into December, we are going to have a working session. So what we're going to look at today is what on earth does this all mean? What did we do last year? And I hope we're going to make more sense of it. Dr. Diaz today is going to show us what the Title I budget has been allocated for this year. So you're going to have a look at what we did last year. We're going to talk about how the budget is being spent this year. Then in December, we're actually going to get together and we're going to work a little bit differently, more in like little groups. And we're going to say, okay, they're spending the money on this. The money's got to go against these LCAP goals. How are we going to prove that out? And we will figure that right now. You're like, I don't know, Rachel. That is what we're going to figure out in working groups. The reason why we can't just solve for this is because the year has to go on for us to know if the money has had an impact on our LCAP goals. So there's almost a structure to it. As we go through the year, we are guiding ourselves through the budget, what we did last year, what does this make sense of, what are we going to do this year, how has it been spent, do we have data to prove it out, can we tell the board a good story? That is what we're here to do, okay? So that's what we're going to do in December. Then we are going to get ready for February. And as February, we're going to need to start to get close to actual data. We are going to be figuring out what data do we want? What kind of test scores? What is the voice of the community and of the parent and student community? How do they impact into this? Those are some of the different things that we are going to review. And as you see, there is going to be a time lapse as we actually get ourselves into a place where we have any data to account for the results that we are seeing. That will take us all the way up to March, where we hopefully at this stage will have an evaluation that we can start to shape. Finally, we will get into a draft of something that looks like this before we present it on to the board. So, hi, Michelle. Just here, this is a year at a glance. So this is our 25-26 year at a glance.
What you just presented, this level of detail.
No, kind of. I mean, each session here is going to build into each other. So as we do an agenda for each one, it is all going to be the building blocks of that. But if it would be helpful, Kendra, we could definitely think about what that might look like, and we could create something like that. It might be helpful for next year.
I think building that out.
That could be something that you could do for SSC. If you would like to put your hand up to do something like that, sounds great. And I think that could be a good action. So this is what the year at a glance looks like. I believe that as a follow-up, and I'm happy to put this as a little action for ourselves. Here's what we can do with our call, my friends. As a little follow-up, I will make sure that I tag myself at the very least to make clearer and more chronological. Understood. Kendra, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's an agenda, the topics are great, the dates are great, but a timeline is very separate.
I think things are demystifying the process is always helpful. I agree. So that is what our year at a glance looks like. What I would like us to now spend some time reviewing, and we can do it a little bit quietly if it makes good sense, and I'll stop sharing for a second, is taking the time to look at what I've printed out for everybody. It is the best reviewed printed, and that's okay for us to have it in the room. I did. It's to look at the evaluation from last year. Okay, so, and I'm happy to pull it up on screen too. If that does make people happy, I can do that. I can always do that. Okay, so let me pull that up. I had it in my files. Here it is. All right. So looking at this and how it went down, in fact, all right. So this really is our deliverable. So this is what we've got to produce. Okay. So I'll walk through this a little bit. Somebody in the room, you all might be feeling like this is really clear. I have got this on lock. At the stage at which this was shared with me last year, I was not clear. So I'm going to take an attempt to try and like kind of talk through it. So what we have really an ability to do and think about is that each goal, thank you. Each LCAP goal can be associated with the way in which the funds have been spent. And so our LCAP goals are around increasing overall academic literacy for students aged K through 8, grades K through 8, creating structures that close the achievement gap.
So before you go on.
Yeah.
So again, are these how goals? Oh, sorry. Are these, can they hear me with the mask? Okay. Are these how goals are written? Because in my world, we write goals so they're measurable. Because this doesn't mean a whole lot to me from a non-measurable perspective. And it looks like if I were to look at the outcomes, it could have been measured.
So let me talk you through them. So the goals as a stated goal for the local control accountability program.
Yes.
And the LCAP is not the LCAP exists, and the Title I funding is one small part of the LCAP.
The LCAP's not written by SSC. It's written,
So
it's part of what we have to submit to the, then we covered this last week.
I get that, but I'm just wondering why they're not measurable.
they are measurable.
They are measurable, in my opinion. You can measure them.
Goal 1, the way it's written, increase overall academic literacy achievement for all students is not measurable.
I'm going to continue.
Okay, go for it.
You need to tell us how you are going to measure that.
Okay.
Because we have allocated Title I funding to the school that has to be against one or more of our LCAP goals. Okay. So there are 5 goals in total. 2 of them we're going to talk about mainly today, and I can potentially, Dr. Diaz, pull up your other sheet too. We went through in our first SSC, we did go through the LCAP plan, so it might have had a little bit more clarity. So what we are going to talk about today, to give you the teaser in the room, is that the Title I funding has been allocated to reading interventionists. So the simple quest that we are on, my dear wizards, is can we prove, that the reading interventionists, I do this all the time, resume, that the reading interventionists that we have funded via Title I funding have helped increase overall academic literacy. We will need to prove that using quantitative data and qualitative data. This that you're looking at right now is 2024, last year. You are going to get an entirely blank sheet of this, and next time we meet, it will be your job as the SSC to fill out new ones of these. I am only sharing you last year so you can see the work that was done. This is a completed one. It was empty at the start. So we know, and we're going to have a chat about it in a minute, that the funds have gone towards reading interventionists. We also know our LCOP goals need to be either about increasing the overall academic literacy or closing the gap between those who are socially, economically disadvantaged, or students with disabilities, etc., and those who are not. So we have, therefore, a job on our hands to use data, quantitative and qualitative data, to prove those out. And that is what the board is going to be looking for at the end of this in, what would that be? What I said, a year at a glance. In April, the board is going to want to know that we can substantiate whether or not the use of those funds was effective to deliver against these LCAP goals. And so what we did was, as we went through this last year, and I'll just talk through it real high level, was we had, at that time, we had allocated coordinators, student advocates, literacy interventionalists into the middle school in particular at that time. And they were supporting with the Summer Bridge program, which was giving new to AEA 6th grade students who were potentially in need of support in language or in learning English language or in English language development. It gave us an opportunity to know those students, to capture those students and get them help from day one in the LAA support program. For example, that was how the previous year funds had been spent. And therefore, we then concluded that with the data, that 17 out of our 20 students were identified early and got in 6 weeks faster than the previous year into extra support. We believe that this was beneficial to the program and therefore made a recommendation last year that we would continue that activity. I'll carry on. So we had qualitative data for that in particular. We had because we did a survey. We surveyed the students who did the Summer Bridge program, and what we concluded was that the Summer Bridge program had been highly beneficial to help students transition smoothly into their new school. What we have actually is an interesting piece on that, is that we actually now have a cohort that we can follow. So when we're in those small working groups next time, we'll be thinking about, who are those students? Hang on, last year, those 17 students that we got in to help. Are they improving at a rate greater than those who did not get that help? If that was data that we could prove out, that would be great. And Kendra, we're going to use your background to go, oh, well, hang on, you could possibly do a survey that might get that. But what about the test results? But what about, have you ever asked parents how they feel? There are different ways we can get that data. That is going to be in our power for the back end of the school year.
I guess I'm going to go back to the goal. So it says all students. So when you say all students, what is that number? Is that the whole school?
Yes.
Both schools.
All schools.
Mm-hmm.
In general, are children's math test results getting better?
Yeah, but not all children are falling within these categories.
Correct.
So that isn't all children.
That's a great question.
So again, I go back to the measurability of this goal.
Which one?
It doesn't make the first goal too, with having it clear what the baseline is and where you're trying to go. And what is the total number? I mean, 17 out of 20 is a small number. That's not the whole, and the goal says all.
Yeah, yes. So just for context though,
Yeah.
the LCAP goals have to be written that by law, we have to write it for the entire Elliott, right?
Got
So
it.
we have to, right? However,
Can't there be a
What-
sub goal then?
hold on, but no, what she's pointing out is where we can quantify, now that we've identified last year, right? The students that received the bridge for the Summer Bridge help throughout this year, we can quantify if that had some kind of impact on their achievement. But we still have to, yes, we can measure every year. Every year we measure all students.
Right.
We do. We have to. By state law, we do. It's not that we can't, we have to.
Right, but I'm just focused on this particular goal and trying.
I understand,
to
but
narrow
it
it.
has to be
It
written.
has to be.
We don't have a choice.
You can't do a sub goal. I mean, it doesn't
We
make
can have sub goals, but the way it's written and submitted,
sense.
but the way it's written and submitted, we have to write the goal for all
And
students.
there can't be a sub goal that makes sense, that's measurable, that. then you
I'm
could-
saying we can,
Yeah.
we can ourselves, but the way we submit our goals
is
to the district has to be the whole, has to be, right? LCAP is part of what we do, right? SSC is specifically
Specific.
targeted for just the students that are allocated Title I funds. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Well, we'll go over that data.
These
Yeah.
programs that just can't seem to grasp the measurability.
I know, but Kendra, we cannot solve for all things here.
You've done it, so.
We can't solve for all things here, I think is what I would say.
Demonstrate with data that the students overall, the community of students have increased.
Has increased academic literacy for 17.
Yes, no, not for 17, because we have data for, sorry, we have data for every single student.
100,000.
But with all this data that we have,
Yeah.
we can support the goal that all students, because it's saying overall, the community that we serve in AEA has improved using that particular intervention, which is
Sorry,
so in other words, what's the best way we can increase our reading overall?
Right.
Is targeted ELL students. Because we
Yes.
know for experience
Go back.
that the students who are not ELA can catch up faster, and we can give them quicker or easier interventions than the ELA. So that's why we
Yeah.
are using that subgroup, because if they do well,
That's an
we can
indicator.
demonstrate with other data that we have that everybody else have done better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I see it, the way we use the data. But to answer your question, we can support any goal because we collect a lot of data from everybody.
And one of the, yes, don't forget, we are trying to not focus, we're not trying to solve everything here. We are trying to solve for.
Need a picture to present that it works, an effective intervention. And in order
We are trying to paint a picture that we are spending our minimal Title I funds effectively, actually. So you're trying to boil the ocean.
Right.
Let's stop trying to boil the ocean and talk
Right.
about how much we're talking about. Dr. Diaz, let's pivot and talk about
Yes.
funds, because I think that talking about funds, and when you see what we're talking about, we
Yes.
can't solve for the whole world because we're talking about under 200 grand.
Yep.
So when you realize we're talking about under less than 200 grand, you understand, oh, 17 students, if we can help them, fantastic,
Right.
right? Because we can only work, and that's an indicator. And then we'd like to say, hey, if we made it successful for 17 students, what about 20 students, 30 students, 50 students, 100 students? We've got to scale it, right? Anyway, we're very conscious of time, and I want us to make sure we have time to get into the funds. So, Dr. Shall I share with you, shall I share the spreadsheet we looked at earlier this week? Is that something I can pull up or no?
I believe so, or I can.
Please hold the line, callers. I am lost in my Zoom window.
I'll put it at the top of your email.
Thank you. And if I could find my share window, wherever it may be. There it is. No, that's not it. It's here. It's there. Okay, there we go. It's a weird thing because I'm both sharing, I'm sharing and sharing. I'm sharing and sharing. Okay, hang on, everybody. Just gonna have to us all have a look in here.
There you go.
Thank you. All right.
Okay,
I'm sharing and share. I'm triple sharing.
sharing and
I
sharing.
am, because I'm triple share. I'm on the Zoom and I'm sharing. Yes, here we go. All right. Shall I go down to the bottom?
No, actually, let's start at the top because for the larger audience and everyone else. So, because there's some acronyms on here, I don't want to assume that people understand. But the way schools are funded in California is average daily attendance, right? And so you'll see average daily attendance numbers. Those numbers are based on 24-25, what was budgeted or projected for 25-26, and then what is the current trend, right? And this was from our finance team. Now, we don't make up these numbers. We just send our attendance data, and the feds and state do what they do, and they allocate their money. How schools are funded though is from P2. What does that mean? P2 is a certain segment of months, and I want to say it's roughly from December to March, but don't quote me on that. It's not the whole year. They take our average daily attendance from a segment of the year, and that's really the way the basis of our funding is determined, right? So whatever that number captures in P2 is our allocated funds, okay? So now we could scroll down to the Title I monies. For context, I put all the different title monies, and these are all federal monies that are on there, but you'll see the biggest chunk that we get is Title I. However, we're a small LEA in comparison to like a San Diego Unified. We don't get a ton of money. That dollar amount is allocated per student that is classified as a Title I, right? And then so if you go all the way down, Rachel, thank you, you'll see last year, Title I, that's block 3010, we were allocated 171,319. Now we're budgeted for 199,622. But here's the fun thing about California funding. It's not that fun. You have to estimate because you actually won't know what your budget month until the kids show up. So we have to project, right? We're planning a year out, but if the kids don't show up, we may or may not receive those dollars. So this is the difficult thing about California funding is that we have to project based on enrollment and possible attendance, what our numbers are going to be. As you can see, the current trend is a little bit lower than 199,000 that we projected on enrollment.
Good.
Right. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, and this here is how it has been spent. So this is what we've got. And as far as you are telling us here, all funds are tagged to reading interventionists.
Yes. And the 2 reading interventionists at the elementary school.
2 at the elementary.
Yes. We have an ELD teacher here, but he's not attached to Title I funds that comes from our general funds.
So the funds as they stand today are attached to the elementary and to reading interventionists.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Based on last year's budget numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So with that in mind, so we know now we have got to prove out that our reading interventionists that have been secured by our Title I funds can solve for goals. And Kendra, I will recirculate this just to make sure.
Yeah.
To goals that have been agreed at the board and even district level around IB curriculum. We'll move on. Increasing overall academic achievement for all students. Goal 3, closing the gap between the groups, those who are socially or economically disadvantaged with disabilities or English language learners.
Can you stop right there, Rachel? FYI, so goal 3, each one has some sub actions attached to that. So those are the sub actions we can measure to whether to determine we meet goal 3.
Early intervention being one of them, the summer bridge. So, and then goal 4 is around family engagement, which we are unlikely to speak to on this one. And then goal 5 is around attendance, which is why to the group here, and I'll start to wrap us up, we're likely focusing on goals 2 with our reading interventionists and goals 3.
Yep.
When we come back and regroup again, now that we are aware, we are going to go, and Kendra is going to be our biggest advocate. How do we provide data that proves that under 200 grand for reading interventionists is a successful spend of the budget to do this? It might not be anything to do with that summer bridge now. That's what I'm saying. That's last year. That may, in fact, people who were on SSC last year do suggest that this year should be a fresh take, really, because we're getting old. We're getting on to new spends, new ways of looking at it. I'm intrigued in that cohort, though, of those summer bridge teams. So I am wanting to follow those. But so that is everything we have for this session. Oh, my goodness me, we've covered a lot. What did we go through? Let me make sure I didn't miss anything in our agenda. That wasn't it. We went through that. We did gear it a gut. This was probably it. This was probably our LCAP. Everything is covered, I think, for today. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to plug out. Today was an informational session. We reviewed the funds. We looked at the year at a glance. I think we've got a bit of an understanding of the work that we need to do. I want us all to help me hold us all accountable to getting parents and student voice in this, because we do need to make sure it's not just us looking at maths data and reading data and all that. It's got to also have some arm of some student or family inputs. And other than that, we are going to reconvene and look at that more tactically
Well,
in December.
How do you want to
Already.
collect these, like, as anecdotal things from parents that we like, should communicate with them?
Survey.
Survey?
Calling this meeting to a close.
I guess.
Survey.
Get a whole lot.
Yeah, we'll do a survey. We would say,
And I actually don't put that.
well, okay, I'll tell you what, my son's a third grader. So he is having a reading interventionist. And thank God, because he's really struggling. And
Earlier.
so I love that. Can we know all of the students who are seeing those reading interventionists? Can we put a survey out to parents like me to say, have I seen a demonstrable change? Is that valuable data? Don't know. But that is exactly when we get back, and I love it, we're already jamming on it. That is what we're going to be asking is, what is that? Should we do? No.
No,
Oh, no.
it's just to like add on to that.
So very like, yeah, focus groups would be great. And then we are going to look at the score test scores. So at a certain stage, we'll wheel in Principal Bouters and we'll wheel back in Dr. Diaz and we will have them take us through the actual scores. And the deal is, and we didn't get into it,
Over 14.
the truth is
Yeah.
that reading interventionist last year did not shift. It did not make an impact. So if you look at the elementary English scores for last year, they did not get any better, nor did the math. And so, but what we would,
Oh, it's only till March.
all of them, all kids surveyed the school. So the school spent more on reading interventionists,
Okay.
but the kids' English scores went down. That's not a good indicator.
But also, we
Whatever,
don't
but
know if
it
it was
was
on
just a
track to be a lot worse.
Yeah, very
You know,
good.
Also, one thing is that there's more